Well, good afternoon and welcome to another basic pool lesson. This is number 5 in our series of 7. We've talked about how to talk a good game and look like you know what you're doing, stance and grip, bridge and stroke, aiming, and today is follow and draw. And the follow, draw, stop shot that we'll talk about today are absolutely basic to doing well in a tournament or just playing well. The most important shot in all of pool is what? The stop shot. That's right, the simple stop shot. A stop shot is when your object ball is hit by the cue ball, the object ball takes off, and the cue ball stays still. Simple, right? Why is that so important? Well, there's a lot of times when you have a setup like this, and you'd like to be able to stop. Anyway, leave the ball where the object ball is. You can see patterns that way that are all easy shots. When you see a pro run the table, you say to yourself, hey, I could have done that. They were all easy shots. Well, why was that? He made them easy by where he put the cue ball. And the simplest way to do that is just to stop the ball. Now, if 100% of the energy hits this one takes off with about the same speed and this one stops. All the energy is transferred. If this ball is not rotating. If it is rolling forward or backward, something else will happen. If it's rolling forward when it hits the object ball will take off and the cue ball will follow it, right? Because it's got forward spin. And if it's spinning backwards, the object ball will take off and this ball will come back. So you must hit it with no spin. Generally speaking, that means hitting this ball dead center with a firm stroke. Now, you can hit it softly like that. If you hit it really well, you can hit it hard, and this cue ball still stays there. You'll have to take my word for that. Now, the problem is the cue ball is spinning all the time. And you don't notice it very much because the cue ball is white and you can't see what's going on. So here's a measles ball that has red spots on it. And if I just hit the ball like that, it actually skidded when it started, like this. And then the cloth started to give friction and it began to roll forward. And as far as you could tell, it was just rolling forward all the time. But it did skid. And you can see that if I put some draw on the ball. I'm going to make it skid backwards, backwards, backwards. Friction is building up. The ball is rolling backwards less rapidly. It stops rolling. Now the ball is just traveling without moving. And now the friction takes over and starts to roll forward. So you can actually see this. I'm just going to hit it low. It'll spin backwards. It'll stop spinning. It'll spin forwards. See if you can see it. Try it the other way. Isn't that interesting? So you want to be hitting the object ball when this has stopped spinning. Now, that's an explanation that's really more than you need to know. Most of the time, you just need to hit this ball dead center and straight on, and that'll do it. If you're a long way off, you have to hit it a little bit low so you don't get too much forward roll. So, this is the best technique to practice on this follow, draw, stop series. And you will get to where I'm going to stop it there, I'm going to stop it here, I'm going to stop it here, I'm going to stop it there. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be a piece of cake. 1. I got a little bit out of line. 2. See if I can stop it this time. excuse me. And the last one. So if you can see patterns like that, even if you're not a very good shot, you can probably make a bunch. The next thing to do with it is to get the cue ball to go somewhere. And you can make it follow the object ball or come back from it. Following it is easier. Not real easy, but it's easier. If I want the cue ball to follow this ball, I have to hit the cue ball high. How high? Depends on how much you want it to follow. But generally speaking, you can hit a ball, if you put the stripe like this, you can hit the ball so your cue tip is right in the middle of that line between the red and the white. If you hit it higher than that, you're likely to bounce off and miss cue. If you hit it lower than that, it'll still work, but it won't have as much effect. So let's try a gentle follow. You just want to go another few inches, say 6 inches. If you didn't know it, this table's a 9-foot table. The playing surface is almost 4 by 8. This is the extra. It's actually 50 inches by 100 inches. So here's 25 inches from the center to the side. Here's another mark, that's 12 inches. So if I want the cue ball to follow the object ball 6 inches, I want it to go halfway to the rail. So the 9 ball is going to come over here, and the cue ball is going to go halfway to the rail, right? I have to hit it very softly and just a little bit high. Like that. Now if you want it to go 6 inches plus 6 inches, 12 inches, just a little bit harder, a little bit higher, right to the rail. Suppose you want it to go 4 feet. Well, 4 feet would be from the center of the table to the end of the table, right? That would be a good follow. You could actually make it probably come all the way back to the middle of the table. Just hit it as high as you can safely, and a nice follow through. A bonus. Okay, so how far did that cue ball go? It went 4, 8, 10 feet. So you can move the cue ball around quite a bit with follow. Okay. That's easy to do, but hard to control how far it goes. There's a lot of touch involved and a lot of experience. I think when you practice the little ones and build up a little bit till you get the feel for it. Don't step up and wham it and try to go 10 feet, please. That'll come with practice. Draw is hard to do and hard to control both. Everybody has trouble with draw. I'm well known for putting my cue ball entirely on the other side of the room by hitting it too low and watching it take off. And you can do that too. So again, you don't want to hit it below where that line would be, this time on the bottom. And the real key to draw is taking your standard stroke, making sure you really do follow through smoothly. Some people think you have to come down on it to make it spin backwards. That's completely wrong. What you'll do is make the cue ball hop when you do that. And you do not, you see a lot of people do this. They'll go, and the cue comes back. No, that's fouling up your shot. The cue stays where it always does, 6 inches in front on the cloth. When you're drawing, you're hitting it low, so you might actually bend your cue. See that? It's bent. It's okay. Doesn't hurt the cue, it doesn't hurt the cloth. They're both used to it. So how hard do I have to hit it, really? Well, hardly at all. Let's put it on the spot so we can see what happens. Let's suppose I want to make the cue ball just come back to where it is now. It wasn't very hard. It actually went too far. And to make it go farther, stroke through a little more vigorously. Remember to take your warm-up shots at that same tempo. If you take your standard slow warm-up and then go or just even go you're throwing your shot off. So a little brisker tempo to make it draw back farther. And how far did that go? 2 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. And a good player can get a couple full lengths of the table with a draw. Now that's all well and good. The whole point of it, though, is to get a position for your next shot. So in most cases, you don't need draw or follow. You can just hit the ball, and you can see the trajectory of the cue ball, and just by how hard you hit it, you can control where it goes in many cases. So don't feel every shot involves English, draw, follow. Doesn't have to. Let's say, as a demonstration of the difference between draw and follow, let's say I want to make both balls in one shot. Push them both into the pocket. What would I do? Follow a little bit, she says. Well, yeah, you could follow. I'll hit this ball into that one. This one goes into the hole. This one stops there. The cue ball follows it and hits it in. That should work, right? Well, you can see that it could be done. You think it can be done with draw, do you? Well, that's interesting. How would that possibly work? The cue ball is not going to go and knock the one ball in. The cue ball is going to come back here. So what's going to make the one ball go in? Well, if you hit the cue ball low, it's spinning backwards. And when you hit another ball with spin, you put the opposite spin on this ball, just like they were sticky. So this ball is going to start rolling forward. And it will hit that ball and keep going. Okay, so that's just a demonstration of how draw and follow look as they happen. I would warn you, as you're trying to put draw on a ball, if you're very close to it, well, you really can't follow through, or you'll hit the other ball. In this case, whether it's draw or just no English at all, you kind of have to, if you're shooting it straight into the pocket there, you kind of have to come down on it to prevent the cue from hitting this 10 ball twice. That just looks like this. Many of you will follow through on a shot like this, and you know, if you hit this shot, this ball goes and the cue ball mostly stops. You never see both balls take off together at the same speed unless you've hit the cue ball twice. That looks like this. See how they're together? So you can tell if somebody has made an illegal double hit by watching what the cue ball does. If they've hit it to the side like this, it never happens. But watch out for these close balls like that, and watch the cue ball go whizzing along. So that's one case where you can draw it elevated like that. It's really the only time it's appropriate when you're doing draw. There's one general warning, which is that all these shots, especially when you're hitting right on the line, high or low, really should have good chalk on the cue. And I don't mean good chalk on the middle of the cue. That's not where you're hitting the ball when you're doing that. Around the edges. For practice on this, it's really very simple. Hit a spot shot. Find some mark. This is ideal, but there's only one on a table. And if I hit this perfectly, where will the cue ball end up? It will end up next to the spot because it didn't take the place of the ball. It ended up in contact with the ball. Okay? So try hitting that with low speed, medium speed, high speed. See how consistent you can be on that. Take 5 minutes. You get the feel of it. Then you're going to do the same thing with follow and draw. Take follow first, it's easier. And again, set yourself up, you know roughly what the dimensions are. And try to make it do what you want it to do. Start off by putting the ball a quarter of the way out and just go to the rail. And you won't make it the first time, odds are. But with a little practice, you can come very close. You'll get the feel of it. Then try to do it a little further. And end up with follow. Now don't be discouraged about follow. Follow is difficult. With draw. Don't be discouraged with draw. It's difficult. And it's hard to be smooth. It's hard to trust your stroke on that. So start off with something real easy, same situation. See if you can just make it come back a couple inches. Don't try to be heroic as you're starting out. Just a nice, simple stroke, and it comes back a couple inches. Be satisfied if you can do that to start with. Once you can, try for a little more. Okay. Stop, follow, draw. That's it. There's not much to it. It's easy to practice, and it will pay big dividends as you try to get position. Questions? Yes?
On the draw, I couldn't see how low. Are you going about 1 Q-tip below center? You say low, but I'm just curious.
How low is low when you try to shoot draw? Well, I mentioned the line on this. Of course, this has no line. So you can talk about Q-tips. Q-tips are various sizes, but in general, 1 tip down, there's center, there's 1 tip down, will give you a little bit of draw, and 2 tips down will give you a lot of draw. And that's about as far as you can go. You could try for more, but that's what'll happen. That's what happens if you try for more. Okay, other questions?
You mentioned that the double hit on a cue ball is illegal, and I'm just curious, in a game, what does that mean if you see somebody do that?
What happens, what is the penalty for a double hit like this? Well, it's a foul, and whatever the penalty for a foul in the game is, 8 ball would be ball in hand, just like any other foul. It's a common foul.
I didn't see it hit twice.
You don't, and you don't feel it either. I used to do this, and people say, you hit it twice. And I said, no, I didn't. But you can tell that you had to have hit it twice because both balls took off at the same speed. If I did not hit it twice, it would look like that. But what happens in slow motion is I hit this, it hits that ball and stops. The cue keeps going and hits it again and pushes it forward. You don't see it, you don't feel it. You can only tell by where the cue ball goes. What else? All right, we have some people here to help you. Please spread out and give a shot at these exercises. And thank you very much for attending.